Londra from the upcoming. Please tell us a little bit about yours. Introduce yourself and tell us about your new project.
So, I'm Fernando Frías de la Parra. I'm here with my documentary, Depeche Mode M, which will be in theaters around the world next week as of the 28th. And I'm very happy to share it with the audience.
Memento Mori, what does that mean for you?
Well, it means for me what literally the meaning in Latin, right? Remember, you must die. So it's just like keeping in mind that things have an end, especially life, you know. So that can help dictate how you behave or how you approach certain things in life. Sometimes you need more levity, you know, or to be more present in the moment, or like watch out for the way you treat people in general. So yeah, just a reminder that we're here for a blink of an eye.
And so, how the project start? So, how it came to mind to connect? So, basically, tell us what did you shoot? It was 3 days of live concert.
Yes, so the project came to me through Anonymous, the production company, and the producers invited me to write a treatment for the band, who were actually considering shooting in Mexico, and invited me to write this treatment. And the idea was to come up with a film, put portray the show in the center, but at the same time reflect on the new subject of the new album, and reflect on the subject of the new album, Memento Mori, taking into consideration A, the legacy of the band, and B, the Mexican tradition around death. And that's how it came to be.
For me, it was really interesting to watch for two different reasons. So one is, it was a full 3 days of full fans everywhere, and it feels like almost like a religious moment. So there's kind of like a connection and music as well, which is a little bit like what's happening basically with the Day of the Death as well in Mexico. But also like the different quotes that you put basically and inserts of different traditions. And so how did you come up with that idea? And also, who are the people actually talking in the film? Because that's I think one part that for me was a bit obscure, that I wanted to understand more how you made those connections and who they were those people talking, and what are, for instance, the Catholic tradition.
Throughout the process, it was really important to find the right balance of these narrative segments that don't compete with the music segments, right? You don't want the music to completely take over, and also you didn't want the documentary pieces to just completely take over. You wanted them to dance together to the rhythm of the music. So the idea was to invite different thinkers and poets to elaborate more around the misconceptions or the myths behind the Mexican brand of the Dia de los Muertos or the death, you know, and to avoid landing in commonplaces or clichés or stereotypes, and expand more through the use of more poetic pieces that actually reflect better or in a more genuine way the Mexican connection or the approach to the Mexican connection with death. So we have anthropologists, we have writers, we have poets, and we have an actor doing a voiceover and reading poems written by different people we invited. Yes, the idea is to create a whole different flow, you know, on the one hand you want to translate the experience of being in the concert, and on the other you want to create a new piece that translates what the experience feel like, rather than just portraying and like documenting the performances. So it was an interpretation and creating a new rhythm and a structure that like translated not only like the what happened on stage, but also like the emotion that it creates.
Exactly. That's all. Actually, it takes me to my next question, which is so your collaboration with the cinematographer Damián García, and I mean, it was beautifully shot. But how difficult was also to direct that, because live concerts are really extremely difficult to actually give the idea that you are physically there. It's like being in a concert is such an emotional feeling, but you actually capture it really well. Right?
Thank you. Yeah. So we had 3 chances, right? 3 different shows, but like the set list was different, so not really the same shows. But we had 3 days to learn also, like, you know, the first one to learn a little bit. So first, of course, we were more respectful, and we asked Dave Gahan, like, hey, how do we know if we are getting on your way when we are filming you on stage? And he told us, you do what you need to do, you will know if you are getting on my way. So that was kind of like a pass to like really go for it. And then we decided we were strategic about, like, one day it's handheld following him from here, the other day it's like Steadicam here, working with Damián and deciding a configuration of different operators, where all of the operators are DOPs themselves, and very good ones, you know. There's a big tradition of like DOPs in Mexico, and they were like really happy to be part of the project, and I was really honored to have like such talented people as camera operators for the show. And discussing together, we found, hey, how happy are you with the crane? How happy, I can take the crane this day, and the next day I will do this. And then there was like a kind of like a great dialogue, because the guy who had the crane one day, the next day did handheld on stage, and would tell the next guy who will be on the crane, hey, watch out for this and that, and it was very collaborative in that way. But also the show itself has a lot of camera coverage for the huge like TV walls, right? And we at some point felt like they have very good positions. We can fight to get those positions, but we don't want to compromise like the show and the audience experience. How can we use that footage that it's different from our footage in terms of texture and quality? And that's why we came up with the use of different technologies and different ways of blending it together. And so from a photographic standpoint, it was like a huge mission, and the idea was to just like be open, you know, and learn and learn knowingly that not everything was gonna be used or perfect, but like taking chances. At some point, Dave Gahan spins a lot through the concert, and we said like, hey, let's just like bring the shutter down a lot and have like this Wong Kar-wai images kind of like, you know, sweeping, and we said, yeah, let's go for that on the last day, once we know that we have everything well shot. And we did things like that's just one example of the things we did, you know. There's one incredible moment in one song in the concert. The song is John the Revelator, and the camera operator on stage did an incredible job. So in the editing, we left it as almost like a oneer.
What was your collaboration in the band? So how did you feel, like an observer, or you felt really involved in the project, also during the editing process? Were they involved, or you just presented the project?
No, it was an ongoing conversation. They were very clear about things that they wanted and things they didn't want, and some of the things they said they didn't want, I found that at some point I needed to use them, so they were really open to have conversations about it. You know, at some point it was like, as a general rule, when the band members turn their back to the audience, just don't be on their faces. And I'm like, wow, okay, yeah. But then we're editing, and I'm like, yeah, but this is an incredible moment. Look, like he's winking at our camera, and we have like almost this like on stage experience with him. Like nobody in the audience have access to that. All of the people going crazy behind him, and then you are in his face. I think we need to ask if we can do that. Let me show you. And they were like, oh yeah, of course, this is wonderful. So it's an ongoing dialogue, and there was like a lot of openness.
What's the difference between obviously documentary and fiction?
Each project, whether they're fiction or not, it's different. So you tackle it different. Like I had this question the other day, and I was thinking, and to be very honest, like sometimes even in like a TV show, like different episodes or like different scenes have completely different process. One is like from a very technical point, and the other one is like pure performance, and you don't actually need more than 2 angles. So there's no such thing as a process. In a documentary, the endurance needed is more in the post-production part of it, because you know where you're going, but you don't know directly how you get there. So you have to be open and open to failure, and like finding the right balance between like the documentary elements and the music elements was like a trial and error kind of thing, and finding it almost like writing music, like how long is a song, so the documentary part of it, it's like being open to not knowing what the end result is beforehand.
What's your idea for your future, like in terms of your career? I saw you got one project coming up called Immigration, and you're producing and writing that. Can you talk about it? Or is it...
No. I mean, I think that's just like a leftover from IMDb, because it's a project that hasn't been finished. It started in 2006 as a documentary. But it's funny that you bring that up, because yesterday it's about a guy called Jimmy. He reached out to me after like 10 years of not talking, and I don't know if it's a project that's gonna come to fruition ever, but it's just like in process. But it's been there in IMDb from 2006.
And have you got then another project which you're working on at the moment?
Yes, I'm working in several different projects. I'm writing. I'm some other assignments as a director, fiction mostly. But there's a documentary that I'm interested in exploring, about like a guy traveling around the world in a very particular circumstance, and different projects in different stages. You have to have like different. You never know which one is the one who's gonna take off. Because filmmaking is so expensive, and then you need like financiers and producers, and sometimes one project will like call the attention of the producers, and of course I'm more passionate about some than others, but you want to have different eggs in different baskets, right?
We were talking before, like you live in New York, so how is the film industry there? Why not LA? Especially coming from Mexico, LA will feel like probably the most natural transition.
No, there's a lot of Mexicans in New York, right? All of the Puebla, shout out to the Puebla community.
Italians everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, I went to school in New York, and I ended up loving it there. And I think my most well-known started there and was shot there. And I have a great love for New York. Nowadays, I'm a little bit more in Mexico City. For family reasons, and because I also feel like there's dark times in the U.S. But I've been in New York for 16 years, and I'm looking forward to going back and spending more time there. Right now, like I said, ever since the documentary in Mexico, I've spent way more time in Mexico than in New York. But my plan is just to keep like bouncing from one place to the other. LA, I don't go there unless I have a project. I don't really enjoy being in the car that much, and it just feels like kind of disjointed and not only creatively inspiring, it's just like an interesting place to me. It doesn't feel like an interesting place. It's all around the industry. it's not my cup of tea.
Yeah, no, I was asking like for how do you feel like the industry in the film industry, in which direction is going, and also
I feel like a lot of people are not working, and right now I keep hearing that, oh, there's no job, there's no work. Like I see more and more people from LA coming to Mexico City to work as Steadicam operators or stuff, or telling us like, yeah, I haven't shot in a while. I was talking to a friend of mine, DOP, and he was like, hey, I got the chance of getting the best gaffer and the best focus puller because apparently they haven't had a job in a while, and at the same time I do feel like it might not be the best time for films in the US right now. That's a personal feeling.
what do you feel like about mentorship with the new talent? So new directors, what would you say to a young director who wants to make a career?
Every time I get asked the question about like what advice do you give to people who are starting, I always give the same advice, and I'm not ironic about it, but it's just like watch out for who you ask advice and why are you asking that person. Like what do you see in that person that makes you want to ask him for advice. This is like a very voracious industry full of like egos and stuff, so I went to school in New York, and I felt like there's so many people with like dreams of making films, and like thinking that you have to check all the boxes. It's not the way I approach things, like do whatever you want to do, and with whatever you have around, and yeah, don't take other people that are according to you already there, because that might be more limiting than inspiring.
And what inspired you at the beginning? Like, which were like your directors or?
No, I felt like, I was never, I remember like film in the 80s and like the big box office success, or like the big adventure films. I never really connected with that. I connected with with films that made me feel identified, oh wow, you can put your life in a big screen. Like I feel like my life is like so small and uninteresting, but my emotions inside are like burning, and I want to explore an avenue to talk about them. And then I found like some films that were incredibly inspiring, to say like you can actually comment on your own perspective of life and make films about it, and that was something very interesting to me. And also I felt like as a child I was very restless, or I didn't want to like settle on any particular thing, and storytelling, it's an opportunity to do many things. Each project it's a completely different life, so you're like experimenting with different lives every time you do a different project.
Thank you so much. And if you have to choose like one song from Depeche Mode that is your absolute favorite, which one will you choose?
It changes, yeah, but right now I would say A Pain That I'm Used To. Yeah.
I love that too, absolutely. Yeah.